Hi, Anita.
Hey Ian,
How's it going?
it's going. Thanks so much for having me on here.
You're welcome. So, the Retired Millennial is an amazing account. Obviously, follow you on Instagram, and you have an account on specifically on flipping items, which I think was super cool. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about making money materialize out of thin air just by flipping items.
I love that. The way that you put it, it really actually does feel like money is coming out of thin air when I flip. So I'm excited to talk on this topic.
I would love to know specifically how one goes about doing this because I think a lot of people are out there wanting to make some money. How do you flip items to bring in some extra cash?
Yeah, so flipping is like such a huge side hustle. It's pretty hot right now. And I think the reason is because it's so accessible and there's so many ways to go about it. But I think what might make the most sense for us to talk about today is probably the most accessible way, which in fact is how I kind of got on this kick. I started my $0 to $1 million project by actually doing this method that we're going to talk about today. Actually, starting with an item that costs you $0. So, very, very accessible.
So I want to hear everything about this. But before we do, $0 to $1 million. So are you trying to flip your way to $1 million?
Yeah. So, $0 to $1 million challenge started with 0 to 1,000. But yeah, it essentially is a series of flips where I thrift an item, I'll flip it for profit, and then I'll invest the net profit into the stock market and then
Oh,
just wait until I reach $1 million. So it's a long
long
journey
play.
for me. Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think there's a lot that comes from this. I'm actually using some of it for my early retirement journey, but I'm also tracking it in a vacuum just to kind of prove a point that retirement savings can actually be very accessible and even fun, and it doesn't necessarily have to affect your income. You don't have to use your own income for it. You can do something on the side.
Well, it sounds like fun. Let's get into the fun with the
Okay.
most accessible way to flip. I'm all ears.
Yeah, so I started this with a $0 input. So my capital was a total of $0.00. The way I personally started was by finding a free item. You could do this multiple ways. So whether it's literally getting in your car, driving around your neighborhood and finding like a for free furniture piece or like bicycle, really anything that you think has value, which can be determined by, asking yourself, would I buy this? Would I own this?
Mhm.
And then starting from there. Once you have the item, you can actually just put it on Facebook Marketplace local, set a price for it, something you would pay for it, or kind of look up what similar items are going for on
Mhm.
Facebook Marketplace. It really doesn't matter. Like you're going to make a profit either way because you
Yeah,
paid zero.
especially if it's free.
Yeah, exactly. So just, slap a price on it. Don't overthink that step. And then, do your coordination from there. Talk to potential people that are looking, to buy that item. And then once you have that profit, you can reinvest that into more items. So you can do this if you want to stay low cost about it. You can, of course, thrift items, or you can continue the $0 route, continue to make circles around your neighborhood. So it really could be like that simple. There isn't really like much of a science to it.
You said you can thrift items. What does that mean?
You can go to a thrift store or
Oh,
I
okay.
guess source things online. So think secondhand items, whether
Yeah.
you're sourcing them online or at a physical location. So you
Yep.
can, go to your local Goodwill and see, basically start that sourcing process over again.
Got it. So if I went to a Goodwill and I saw, I don't know, like a cashmere sweater or something, I could buy that for whatever they were selling it for, cheap price, go sell it on Poshmark or something for more, and boom, I just made money out of thin air. I love the free stuff. My wife and I actually did this years ago. We saw this abandoned like armoire in the middle of the street in New York. Now we had to put a little bit of love into it because it was a little banged up, but we bought a sanding block and some paint, and we just fixed it up. I'm curious how many items that you find are just like ready to go.
99% of mine, I'm pretty low effort on my sourcing. So I
Okay.
definitely keep that in mind when I'm just kind of like running the calculus in terms of like profit. Also factor in time. I like to keep my time very low.
Okay.
Um, so I personally stay away from anything that needs renovation. If it's a really high value item and it, just has like maybe like a deodorant stain or something, if we're talking about clothing, then I'll go for it. I'll throw it in the wash. That rarely happens. I like to get things and ideally just wipe them down with a Lysol wipe and then just take a picture of it and list it and then store it and wait for it to go.
I think that makes sense. Time is money, right?
Right.
So, okay, you find something, it's on the side of the road, it looks pretty good. You're looking for items that are relatively sellable.
Absolutely. 100% sellable. Like you'll have the most success doing this with sellable items. So a lot of people try this and their problem is that they don't have sellable items.
Okay.
So yeah, starting there is a great starting point.
Give me an example of a sellable item versus a non-sellable.
So for sellable, I'll give you an example of probably one of my funnest flips. And it was a side of the road flip. So a woman who owns an antique store was, letting go of some antiques. So I
Wow.
noticed a beautiful velvet pink chair in front of her house. And later that evening, I went and picked it up using my boyfriend's pickup and sold it for $200. Somebody in the Bay Area actually drove down about 2 hours to come pick it up.
Wow.
So it went
Very
from
cool.
0 to 200. So that's an example of a sellable item. Of course, this, it's something that I would have loved. In fact, I was tempted to keep it. So that's probably how it's sellable. It's if you kind of
Want
are
it.
tempted to keep it yourself, it's a good indicator somebody
Mhm.
else will have that same feeling. Non-sellable items, I guess, yeah, the things that I'm not drawn to.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you are flipping on eBay, there's kind of a more scientific way of doing this, and it's actually going through their database and looking at their sold items. You can actually type in any product on eBay and do a filter for sold items or
Oh, cool.
completed listings. And you can actually see what's selling and what's not. So if the average sell rate is low, meaning like there's so many listings and only so many of them have sold, that would give you a lower sell-through rate. You probably want to stay away from those. That's an indicator that it's either not going to sell or going to sit for a while. But with something on the side of the road, you don't really have that knowledge. Yeah, I would just stick to your personal preferences at that point.
So you're out there, you find something that you like. What's next? How do you actually sell it? I think you said before you sold that chair on Facebook Marketplace, right?
Yeah, so I'm a little partial to Facebook Marketplace, both for local and for shipping. Not everybody has access to shipping, but if you do, I would definitely take advantage of that. It makes the process a lot simpler. You don't have to meet up with anybody, but of course, if you're selling a chair, you're going to want to do that locally. Yeah, I have like an 8-part method. I call it my octopus listing method. So there's a few parts to it. I probably won't get into detail here. I have an article that we can link to this.
Sure. Yeah.
If wants to see that. But it basically involves things like, using the right keywords. So saturating your listing with the keywords and also making sure you have great lighting for your pictures, multiple angles. You can now even upload a video. So you want to make it clear what the person is buying. And then of course, adding shipping if applicable, and then posting it to local groups. So yeah, you want to make sure to hit those 8 points, and that'll increase traffic to your listings. I have a Medium article on it. Yeah.
Medium. Okay, great. I'll link to that in the show notes. I want to read that for myself too. Okay, last question. If someone wanted to make $1,000 flipping items. In your experience, how long do you think that will take someone? What do they need to do?
It took me 51 days and 43 flips. So I'm
Wow.
curious to see how long that would take somebody else. I think it really depends on whether it's a priority or not. I would recommend making a challenge with your significant other. That's how
Who
me
can
and
do
my
the
partner
most?
did it. We actually tried to race to $1,000. So his average sell price is usually higher than mine, but I had higher volume. So
Yeah, you went
I
for the quantity. Wow. 40,
yeah,
43 flips. That's
43 flips. Yeah.
impressive.
Depends on what you get. If you're starting from zero, then you kind of have, I think, a longer journey ahead of you.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you start with a high flip that costs you not $0, then you might get there faster for sure.
Under 2 months though, for $1,000, 500 a month. That's pretty good. And again, out of thin air.
Yeah, and this was also at the start of the pandemic. I was actually interrupted by it. So it probably could have even been a little bit sooner.
Oh, I was just going to say for anybody listening, I hope they take that as a challenge. 51 days is Anita's current record and 43 flips. Can you beat that? I think this is so actionable. Drive around the neighborhood, find something that resonates with you, put it on Facebook Marketplace and see what you can do. It sounds like there's really nothing to lose.
Absolutely not. And it's also fun. I think the $1,000 mark is a good indicator if you enjoy this. If you do, you're going to naturally want to keep going,
Yeah.
and, raise the bar to 10,000 and then, move on from there. But you might find that you absolutely hate it. And that's also a great signal.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you made the money, but it might be very draining for you, or just maybe not right now. And that's fine too.
Totally.
But definitely nothing to lose.
Anita, the retired millennial, thank you so much. I
Of course.
really appreciate you being here and your advice on flipping.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me be a part of your channel.
You're welcome. See ya.